Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and today we're going to be working with React, and I'm trying to get this project ready that we've been working on for months and months since the beginning of the year. And so I just have a bunch of things on my list that need finished up. Some of them are just minor changes, other ones a little bit bigger. We're just going to see how many we can get through today. For those of you who are new to the stream, this is me doing my daily work as a front-end developer. So this is not rehearsed. We're going to make mistakes. I don't always know what I'm going to do going in. Like today, I'm not exactly sure how much we'll cover. I do my best to try to explain things as I go along. Feel free to ask any questions if you have questions. I split things up by Pomodoro sessions, so we'll do a 25-minute session of code where I won't really look at the live chat that much, and then I'll take a 5-minute break. I'll catch up on the chat, answer a few questions, and then we'll go back and forth between the 25 minutes of code and 5 minutes of questions until I feel like stopping, and then I'll finish up with all the questions before we end the stream. So let me explain very quickly what we're working on and what I hope to accomplish, at least in the first Pomodoro session. So we are working on a React website. It will be the main website for a small university that I work for. And we are getting data from WordPress, and we're pulling it into this React website with GraphQL and a REST API. What else are we doing? That's good enough for now. We're not really going to work with any back-end stuff, so I don't need to explain everything. If you're interested in that, you can check out some of the previous shows or ask me and I'll explain it later on. But for today, we're going to be working mainly just on the front-end side of things with React, some components, some styles. We are using Material UI. It's a library of React components to give your app a material design style. I did recently upgrade to the latest version of Material UI, so it's version 3. So this is all the newest stuff, and yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to switch over so that y'all can see what's on my screen. And I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Okay, let me know if that font size needs to be larger than that. I'll try to shrink down everything as much as possible. Alright, so almost everything that you see on my screen is available in the GitHub repo. I did make just a few changes that I didn't push to GitHub yet. And that's simply right here. You can see with this blue bar, I added in some grid containers and a button. So that's where we're going to start out now. We're going to add in a few more buttons, make sure they link to the right place, and that'll be the starting point. We're in the footer.js component, so the link to the GitHub repo is in the description if you'd like to follow along. I can also start this ngrok server. Let me start my Pomodoro session, and then I'll start ngrok. Oh, I can't remember how to start ngrok. Let's see if it's in. There we go. Can never remember the command because I always just have it ready. So let's start that up now. I'm going to copy and paste this link in the live chat. If you click this link or copy and paste it into your browser, you'll be able to see the website that we're working on as we're working on it. One other big change that has happened since the last time I streamed was that I tried out Google App Engine. So I had a few phone calls with some representatives from Google Cloud, and they kind of filled me in on some of the options that I had for hosting this. And so I decided to try out App Engine instead of using Now for deployment and hosting. I really like it. It's very fast. It'll consolidate all my billing into one place instead of having multiple companies. So I think I'm going to go with that. So I haven't switched over the URL yet from now to App Engine, but that will be happening soon. So I'll probably do some work with that on a live stream when it gets closer to the time to launch, which should be pretty soon. I had a lot of meetings recently with changes to the website, so the launch will happen within the next few weeks, unless I have more meetings and something else changes, I suppose. Okay. Let me double check. Okay, so that seems like it's working for you all. And I want to show you for those of you who can't open that link, I do want to show you on the screen what this is going to look like. So we're working on the footer right now. You can see I had some lorem ipsum so it's called bacon ipsum. It's lorem ipsum filler text with the names of various meats in there. So I'm replacing that with this. So you see I've already put in the address, and this is properly formatted, right? So according to what schema.org says, so that can get picked up by search engines and displayed properly. All right, so we've done that, and now I just want to put in a few buttons to request info, and then over here I'm just going to put a very short list of some other links, probably links to like the privacy policy and things like that. You know, your standard stuff that most websites have in the footer. That's what we're going to have for now. We'll have some different stuff in there after we launch. Most likely we're going to maybe have a small contact form, but for now this is what we're going to go with for launch. So I need two other buttons. It's going to mimic what we have here: request info, apply, and visit. And really I'm going to have the same setup here of request info being large, and then these two buttons being half the width. So we got request info in there. The button just has the appearance. It's not linked up to anything yet, so we'll have to put that in. But for now, let's just get everything in here, and then we can work on the rest of it. I'll probably want to center this inside of here. Otherwise, it's going to look a little bit odd. So let's get the buttons in there, and then we can work on centering things. I've been developing things kind of in this view, mobile first view. So I'm probably going to stick with this, although it may be hard to see on the stream. So I am going to kind of toggle back and forth just so that I get an idea of how this will look on a mobile environment as well. So for now, I'm going to just zoom in on this section so you all can see it. But let's go in here, and so we have this grid item. In Material UI, it comes with this grid system, these grid components, right? So we have this grid container for the footer, and then within it, we're splitting the footer up into 3 sections on a large screen. On a small screen, each section takes up the full width, right? So within that middle section of the 3, we've put another container, and then we have another grid item. This first one is going to take up the full width all the time. But we're going to make 2 more that are going to take up the full width on a small screen, but on a larger screen, it's only going to take up half the width. All right, that's how we're going to get the buttons, so there'll be 1 button on the top and then 2 buttons underneath. We also want to make sure that we pass in the correct info. So this is a component that we've created called this inverted button, and that basically just gives us these styles. Material UI does have a button. They didn't when we started this project, but they now have a button called an outlined button. It's a button variant on the button component. I kind of like this style better, maybe just because I'm used to it because we've been using it. So their outline button is a little bit different. So I've decided to just stick with our inverted button for now. And at some point, maybe we'll switch it up. But this works for now. We've already created this component. So it'll be less work to just use this than to try to modify the styles of the Material UI button. So let's go to that component just for a second to see what we need to pass in. Actually, we can check here because we have these buttons. Yep, here we are. So we can pass in an href, a title. Yep, that works. Let's do that then. I'm going to just grab these from here. I'm sorry, I need to change my my playlist here. The Throwback Thursday playlist on Spotify is playing me like all these slow jams, and I've got nothing against slow jams, but they're just not great to code to. Like, I need energy, right? You know what I'm saying? So let's switch it up. Okay. So let me add these. I want to add it here to this button because I'm going to copy and paste all this, and the more complete this one is, then the less I have to modify everything. So I'm going to change this to just include this, right? Because they're all going to have different values for these. So let's just leave it like this for now. And we're going to copy the whole grid. At some point, it might not be a bad idea to pull all this data in from our API from WordPress. But for now, I'm just trying to get this launched. I don't have a problem with hard coding this right now. Eventually, it'd be great to have as much as possible be editable from within our CMS. But that way, if anything needs to change, like for the text content, we don't actually have to change our code, which is a good thing. That's a good goal to have, but not necessary before launch. Alright, so let me change these. Let me double check and see what we have here. Okay, apply and then visit. So this one's going to say apply. Oops. And this one will say visit. And we're going to add in here so that on small screens, let's have this take up 6, right? So 6 columns, which would be half. And we'll see how this looks. I think a small screen will be a good place to have this breakpoint, but if it's too narrow, then we can always go up and say that break will take place at the medium size. And I'll leave out the titles and the hrefs for now, because we're just trying to get things to look right. And that's just a matter of copying and pasting. I can always do that later. Let's see. Alright, that's good. Let's save that and then check it out. See what we have. Okay, cool. So we now have these buttons. Definitely need to make some adjustments though. This doesn't look good at all, right? So let me double check how it looks on the small screen too. Yeah, not great. Doesn't look good. So let's change this a bit. And let's see. You know what? Let's go in here first. We'll try to make some changes in DevTools. This will enable us to change things just a bit more quickly than we could with our code, and we won't have to keep flipping back and forth between screens. So I wanted to double check and make sure that this was set to display flex. It is, which I figured it was. And let's see how we can do this. So we can go with, let's try flex. Let's see, justify content. And let's see what this is going to do for us. Nope. align items. Okay, that's not doing anything either. Alright, let's try this. Display flex align items. Huh. There we go. Okay. So, usually have to play with Flexbox a little bit. I'm still, I don't use it enough and I'm not that good with it to just know exactly what I need at first. So, what we did here was we set this div, which is our container div for this button. All right. We set this div to be display flex, and then we could use the Flexbox positioning for this. So we set justify content to center. You see that move the button right into the center. Okay, so let's do something similar with these, but what we're going to do is I'm going to say display flex. We're going to justify content, and for this one we're going to say flex end, and for this one, oops, yeah, actually this one works as is. We don't need to say anything. All right, but what we do need to say, all right, before I get too far ahead of myself, let's go back and add these styles in here. So what I want to do is let me add in some styles here. So let's say, am I actually using white? I think I am. Yeah, I am. Okay. I won't get rid of it then. So let's just say flex container. We're going to create the style called flex container, and this is just going to give it a display. Whoops. Flex. I need to put that. Okay, so if you've never done styles like this with React, basically these are very similar to normal CSS, but it's in the form of a JavaScript object. So the syntax is going to look a little different. We use camel case, right? And then we have to put most of our values here in quotation marks. But we can take this then, this flex container class, and add it onto our grids. And I'm going to use my multiple cursors here to say, we're going to go class name, and we're going to say classes dot flex container. And let's save that. And we should see, let me refresh this to get rid of what we did over here. What did I do here? Okay. I don't know why that was so slow, but it should work now. Okay. So if we inspect those containers, they should all have display flex. Yep. So there's display flex on this one, and on this one. And now we can add our other styles in here. So what I want to do now is we're going to have this class name, but also I'm going to use the style tag. This is just going to demonstrate another way you can do styles in React. And basically it's an inline style. But we're still going to use that JavaScript object syntax here. So we're going to say style. We're going to put double curly brackets. So the first curly bracket means that, hey, we're going to do some JavaScript. So we're telling React, we're about to do some JavaScript. And then that second bracket is object notation, right? It's going to say this is an object. So within that object, we're going to have key value pairs, just like a normal object. right? And our key in this case is going to be justify content, and then our value is going to be center. I think that's what we need, center. I'm going to copy and paste this down here to this grid as well. And for this one, we needed to say flex end. Okay, now this should give us now our alignment that we had before, hopefully. There we are. See, so this gives us our alignment. Okay, so normally, so if I have a style that I want to apply to multiple components, it makes sense to put it down here and add it as a class. If I have a style that I'm going to use once and it's just one thing, then I usually do it in line like this. If I were to apply, let's say 2 or 3, like 3 or more things to a component, even if I'm only going to apply it to one component or one element, I'll probably make it a class as well. It can get pretty messy if you start to put a lot of stuff in line like this. So for me, for the way I do things, this makes sense. If we end up adding in some other stuff, we'll just move it down. It's not a big deal. It's, you know, copy and paste. So this is how I like to work. There's not really a consensus on what is the absolute best way to do styles in React right now. So I use a variety of ways, usually on the same project, even within the same component. And until there's some consensus about the best way, which honestly may never happen, I'm just going to keep trying out different ways and doing what works for my projects. Okay, just want to let y'all know, if you haven't put anything in the live chat and I haven't read it, I'm going to check the live chat here in about 6.5 minutes. Okay, so just hang in there just a few more minutes. Okay, so next step then is we don't want, this still looks terrible, right? We don't want this. So we need to put some space in here. So we need some padding between there. Let's try 8 pixels. And if that's too tight, we'll bump it up to 16 pixels and just see how that looks. After that, then we're going to make it so that these buttons align properly with this top button. So basically, like, the width of this top button should be the same as the width of both these buttons and the padding in between them all combined. If that doesn't make sense right now, it will once you see it. So again, let's just test this out here in DevTools first. Let me make this a bit bigger. Might be too small. So in DevTools, let's take this button here and let's add some, let's go margin. I'm just going to add 8 pixels in here, and then down here, let's add 8 pixels, and we'll do the same thing for this button, and we'll just see how it looks first, and then we'll adjust. Okay, let's zoom out. Actually, I like that. I like how that looks. Let's switch it up for a second and see how it looks here. It's going to be weird, see? So we're going to have to put in a media query here and switch up how they're aligned. But for now, at least the spacing between them is acceptable. Okay. All right, so that looked good. So I think if we go with just a standard 8 pixels around all of our buttons, that'll work. And fortunately, we already have a class on all our buttons, right? This inverted button dart class. So I'm just going to add to that class a margin of 8 pixels. Remember our comma. When we save that, that should work. I'm not going to check because I'm like 99% sure that'll work. Okay, now we want to make sure that our buttons are all aligned, like in terms of width, right? So to do that, I guess there's some different ways we could do it. Let's see what this looks like. We'll play around a little bit, see what this will look like. So let's take this button and let's just, I don't think it's going to look good like this, but I just want to try it, right? So let's go with width 100%. Oh, that's huge. Okay, too big. Too big. So we could go with a fixed width or a percentage width. I guess it'll probably be easier if we go with a fixed width. Let's see what we have up here. I mean, we obviously achieved this up here. I just don't remember how we did it. Let's see. Okay, so I did go with a fixed width. All right, well, let's just try that. Let's try a fixed width. So we can try with 200 pixels. Okay, actually that's not too bad in terms of this working here. So if we had 200 pixels as the width here, each one of these buttons would need to be 100 pixels, but since we have 16 pixels of margin in here, we'd have to subtract that, so that would be 8 off of each button. So we want to make each button 92 pixels, and that should work. So let's do this then. On our button itself, let's go, let's make sure I'm on the right button here. On our buttons, I'm going to do our multiple cursors again to select all of them at once. And we're going to do style equals, we're going to use our double brackets here, and let's say width is going to equal 92 pixels. So these two are going to stay 92, and for this one I'm going to switch it up and say 200. Okay. Now when I save that, hopefully it works. Let's see. Did it work? Is that lined up? Yeah, it is lined up. Cool, that worked. Okay, so we have all of our buttons here. Nice. All lined up properly. Let's check it out for mobile. It's going to look bad. So this still looks bad. So we need to switch it up for mobile, which is going to be, basically we're just going to work with some media queries here. And what is this, Pixel 2? Let's drop down. I mean, a Pixel 2 is a pretty wide phone. Let's go to a very narrow phone. Because if it works for a very narrow phone, we'll know that it'll work for a little bit of a wider phone. If we're going to drop down here, this is only 320 pixels across in width. And that's the narrowest phone that I know of. All right, so I don't know, at least the last time I checked, there was no other viewport that had it. It was more narrow than that. So if it works here, it'll work for everything. So given that we may be able to do, really what we could do is keep this same alignment even on a phone. That might be the easiest thing to do, so that we would actually have that. Yeah. Let's let's try that here. My timer just went off, so I'm gonna go back to the live chat in just a second. But if we get rid of this, did I mess that up? Extra small 12. Oops. Yeah, that was not what I wanted to do. What I want to do. Oops, that's not going to work. I want to make this 6. Yeah, and then get rid of this. Okay. There we are. There we go. Okay, so now we have these buttons here. There's still some issues, I think, with spacing between the sections, but not bad. Not sure if I like it centered either, but I think it's okay for now. It's decent. Okay, let me put on my 5-minute timer now. I'm gonna go to the chat, get through as many things as I can. Abdul Rahman says, "Hi Jesse, thank you for sharing your live video with us. I get my motivation from your videos because you're showing us how a developer works and gets into some code issues and mistakes. Thanks." Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad this is helpful for you and helps motivate you. Let's see. Ahmed says, "What do I need to learn before starting in React?" HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, so at least the basics of those, right? The more you know about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the easier React is going to be, but you certainly don't need to be an expert first. Babashov says, "Hi from Azerbaijan." Sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of that, but how's it going? Thanks for watching. Mun Griffin says, "Thank you, I've been watching your videos." Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for watching. Posey says, "Only basic JavaScript, then you can start ReactJS." Yeah, for sure. Just learn, if you want to know the bare minimum to start React, is just basics of JavaScript. Let's see. Aki says, "What's freeCodeCamp?" freeCodeCamp is a non-profit organization, and our goal is to help people learn how to code for free. So freeCodeCamp.org has a bunch of lessons you can take to learn how to code online. We have this YouTube channel with a ton of content. We have a Medium publication, which lots of blogs and tutorials there. We have a forum where you can ask questions. We also have a podcast. And there are freeCodeCamp meetup groups all over the world. So there are a lot of different ways that freeCodeCamp is helping people to learn how to code. And actually, there's going to be a freeCodeCamp hackathon in San Francisco at the end of October. So you could check that out as well if you're in San Francisco. I think there's going to be an online portion of the hackathon. So even if you're not there in San Francisco, you can still participate. So check that out. I don't remember what the link is, but if you look it up, freeCodeCamp hackathon, I'm sure it'll come up. Nilesh says, "Do you have the correct folder structure for React?" I don't really know. As far as I know, there's not a standard React folder structure. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but it kind of depends on what you use to bootstrap your React application. Right, so if I'm using Next.js, like I am, usually we have this pages folder, and you wouldn't normally have a pages folder if you, let's say, you use create React app, you may have a folder that would say views instead of pages, or you may not have it at all. So this is the structure that I use if I'm using Next.js. Let's see. Abhijit says, thank you for this. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Nitin says, this channel changed my life. Can you say my name? Yeah, Nitin Verma. So hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Please let me know if I'm not, and I'll try to say it correctly next time. But I'm really glad that this channel has helped you out. Hopefully it's changed your life for the better. I'm assuming that. Andrew says, I've really enjoyed using Emotion for CSS and JS. I'd really love to help with some contributions on this project, Jesse, but I'm a little intimidated by open source. Andrew, check out the issues on our GitHub repo and see if there's an issue that maybe you think you could handle. And if you have any questions, just comment on that issue. I'll do my best to help you through it and see if you'd like to contribute. And that goes for anybody else. If you see something on the project where you'd like to work on, just let me know. Check out the GitHub repo, and I'll try to make it as easy as possible for you to contribute. Delian says, thank you for sharing that knowledge. You're welcome. Brandon says, first time tuning in for a stream. Have been going through some of the pre-recorded videos. This looks like a valuable experience to see the process in action. Oh, cool. Well, I hope it is valuable for at least some of you. So I appreciate you saying that. Sofiane, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but it says, what is your style syntax since it's not CSS? Well, this is JSX is the syntax that we use in our React components. And I'm not even sure what exactly the name is for doing CSS like this in JSX. Is it CS? I don't know if it's CSS and JS, or I don't really know, to be honest with you. If somebody knows what the name of this is, let me know. I know how it works. I just don't know what it's called. Let's see. Robin says, sir, I know a little more JavaScript. Can I learn React? Yeah, if you know some JavaScript, certainly you can start learning React. Let's see. GroovyTuber says, can you also upload a video on competitive programming? I don't have a video on competitive programming. I don't really know that much about it, but if somebody out there has some good content on that, get in touch with somebody from our, probably like Quincy or Bo from freeCodeCamp, and let them know what your content is, and maybe it can be put on our channel as well. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the code now let me check the time. Okay, yeah, let's do one more Pomodoro session. We might not even do a full Pomodoro session. We're just gonna try to finish this up a bit, and then I'll answer some questions, because really, I actually have put in most of the time I need to today in the office, so I can go home soon. Let's see. Okay, so for now, this is okay looking. I'm not 100% thrilled with it, but like I said, we want to launch soon, so the goal isn't get things perfect, the goal is get things acceptable, right? There are certain key places on the site that we really want it to look very nice, but then there are other areas that we can work on even after the launch. The footer is one of those areas where a lot of people are never even going to see it, so this does not need to be perfect right now. So we just have one more section left that doesn't have real content yet, and that's this section of the footer. So I would like to, I have this on another screen. Let me pull this. So On the current site, which is franciscan.edu, the footer has links for contact us, privacy policy, directions, non-discrimination statement, and consumer information. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to put in those same links over here. I do want to double check and see if we have any of those links here. No, we don't. Okay, yeah, so I think we definitely want to put those links in the footer. Or like legally, those are some pretty important links. So I'm going to do this. I think I'm just going to do a regular unordered list. Okay, I'm not even going to try to check out the materialized components for this because I'm not trying to do anything fancy. I just need a list. So let's go to our code here in our footer and this section, and let's put in a UL. Oops, why didn't that automatically make? There we go. UL, and let's make an LI. Okay, and then within our, yeah, there we go. Within our LI, we want a link. You know, we're probably going to use, let's use link tags. And I don't think I have the links here. I don't. Let's import our link tag, which I think I have in here. Link. I don't. I need to find a place where I'm using this link tag. Maybe here? No. All right, let's see. I have it here. There we are. So we're going to import link from next link. So what this is going to do, disk full. I don't know why I imported this and then I'm not using it. Let me get rid of that then. So what this is going to do by using this link tag is it's going to let us pre-fetch content. That way, if a user ends up clicking on this, what is going on here? Oh, I messed this up because I don't have the closing tag. There we are. So if a user ends up clicking on one of these links, the load time is going to be pretty much instantaneous because the data will already be loaded in the background. So I like to use these link tags whenever I can. And let's also make sure we grab, so we need an href. Is that all we need? I actually think we'll need more than that. So because of the way we're doing routing, we need more than just the href on our link tags for them to work properly. So I'm going to go to this drawer item and see what else we need. There we are. So we need this stuff. And let's add this in now. Link, and then within the link we're going to put an A tag. Okay, and we'll just give it some text. Let's just say, what's that first one? Contact. Okay, so one of these, the href, is going to be like what actually shows up in the URL, or in the URL bar, right? The next thing is going to be when we say as, that's going to be what actually gets put into like the router, like where are we going to get this data from. So for href, I'm going to have to look contact. Okay, so in this case, the href, it's really easy. We just do contact, right? The contact page. But let me go to, let's go to this drawer menu. Let's pull this over. So you can see the as URL is going to look more like this, right? So let's just copy and paste that. So under our page type, we're going to say about pages, and the ID that we want to get for that content ID is going to be contact. Okay. I don't know if this is 100% correct right now, but I'm just going to use it just as an example. Let's see how it looks. And item is not defined. What do I leave in there? Oops. And we don't want, we just want to say prefetch is true, right? So you don't necessarily have to say prefetch equals true. You could just put prefetch, but I believe for newer versions of React, you're going to want to put equals true. I can't remember the details. I just vaguely remember learning somewhere along the line that this is the way we want to do it now. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so we have our contact, and it gives us, is it giving us the wrong thing? It is. Okay. Why is it doing this? I have these backwards. So let's switch these up. So this needs to say as, yeah, this makes more sense. So we want to get this content, but we want to put it as this URL. All right, let's save that and then go back here and make sure we're getting the right. Yep, now it'll say contact. I don't know if this will work. Hey, it works. Wonderful. So I did get it right. Let's check our console and see if it is actually UL cannot appear as a descendant of P. Okay. Let's get rid of this typography, or at least, yeah, let's get rid of typography for here since that was causing an error. And let's refresh that, see what we get now. Div cannot appear as a descendant of P. I guess we can get rid of our typography component. Where else? Here. Okay. Let's see what we get now. Alright, cool. Not too bad. We don't have errors here. Let's check our network and see. I want to try to see where. That's weird. Usually I can see what pages are trying to be preloaded. Oh, you know what? We're on dev mode, so it's not going to preload. I can't test it out now. So on the versions of the site that I actually have like live at a URL, then I could see if this would work. So I'm not going to check it now because I'd have to deploy this. You can see some of our styles are messed up now, but what we can do though is just put in, so where I had this footer text, footer sections, and then white color, footer sections, footer text. All right, let's do that. Actually, it'd be easier to copy and paste this. So let's bring this back in just for a second so I can pull this class name out. And then now, let's see what I can get away with here. If I put this on the grid container, let's see what it'll do. If I can get away with putting it that high up and it still works, yay, it worked, awesome. Okay. Let's see, we still have some odd styling going on here because we have the A tag and the list. So let's just add in a few more. Oops, where are we at? So these LIs, we're going to copy and paste these. And because we need, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 4 more of these. 1, 2, 3, oops, not that. 3, 4. Okay, so we need 4 of those. Let's see how that looks. Let me check my time while I'm over here. All right, about 12 minutes. Okay. All right, there we are. So here's our list, and we need to change, let's see. All right, so on our UL, let's go with style. List style none. Let's see if that works. May have to say list style type. Nope, that works. Cool. So we got rid of those little circles, and then now we also need, you know what, let's see if this will work on the UL. We may have to put it down lower, like on the A tag, but if we can get it to work on the UL, that'll be great. So let's go color, and FFF is going to be white. Let's see if that'll work for us. Looked like it did not work. Let's inspect just to make sure. Yep, so it's being overridden by this. Okay, so we are going to need to, I want to go back. I guess it doesn't matter, the footer's on every page now. So let's get rid of that. And instead, on our A tags, we're going to need to put our color there. And actually, since we have this color white, I guess we could just use that. So on all of our A tags, let's drop down and put class name. Now, I would say this. Normally, I wouldn't hard code a list like this out. We'd probably just want to do it one time, map over in an array that would give us all this information, so like an array of objects, and then only have this markup, once, right? And it would map over. But for now, since there's not that many items, I'm just going to do it like this. All right. Eventually, it will be mapped over data that we're getting from our GraphQL API. No, there we are. Okay, so our class name, and I don't want those. I want classes dot white. There we are, and that'll show up better. I mean, it does show up better, but it's definitely not Great. What's our, let's see what this is. Alright, font size is okay, but it looks like maybe it could use a bit bigger font weight. So let's go with font weight 400. See what that gives us. Alright, 400 is definitely more readable. Yeah, let's go with 400. So here where we have our class name, class is white, we're also going to say style. And we're going to say font weight. And we're just going to say 400. And we don't need to put that in quotation marks because it's just a number, right? So that'll work. If it had, let's say, any type of string, any type of characters that were letters, we would have to put it in quotation marks. Alright, now we close that out with our double brackets, hit save, there it is. Just to kind of get an idea, I'm going to change a few of these so that it's not just contact, because it looks weird right now. Privacy, P-R-I-V-A-C. Yep, that's how you spell privacy. Directions. Alright, just a few just to see. Okay. Alright, not bad. There's too much padding on the top. I do want to see why that's there. It looks like that's on the UL itself. So let's get rid of that. And do we need it on the bottom too? No, we don't really need that on the bottom. I think we're fine with the normal amount of padding. Oh, what happened here? Okay, something happened here. Let's fix that as well. What the heck? All right. Okay, so we don't want it on there. Okay. All right, so for some reason, footer sections. So we've given this container div, this container grid, that maybe that was a mistake. Grid item. Yeah, you know what? This needs to be outside of here then. Let's see what it does now. Put it outside. There we are. Okay. Yeah, so we needed that to be outside of the main container div. So if you didn't see what just happened, we had a margin here because this section was actually inside of the container div for all these sections, and that container div had a margin here of 16 pixels. So once we moved it outside of that container, it was free to take up the full width, right? Okay. Now let's get rid of that, and this should be looking pretty good. So on our UL, let's just add one more style here, and this is going to be margin 0. And if that takes care of our problem, great, we're good. Okay, so the margin is knocked off the bottom. This is a lot thinner. Probably would want to make this margin a bit bigger if I was like really trying to make this perfect. I would want it to match this margin on the top, but for now I'm okay with it. Yeah, so that's pretty good. What I would need to do here obviously is put in the correct text and all the correct info for the links for these things in the footer. And I might think about maybe centering this, but doing it in a way where it would still be straight along this edge, right? If that makes sense. Other than that, that's fine for the footer. Maybe you could see like this needs to be up on the same line as the rest of this street address. So the zip code needs to be up. Yeah. These links need the right URLs as well. Not bad. Okay, cool. Let me take, all right, about 3 minutes. And this time I'm going to commit this and then push it to GitHub. So if you're not familiar with how that works in GitHub, then I'll try to explain what I'm doing as we go along. So we're going to do a git status just to see what's changed. So as expected, we've only changed this one component, our footer.js component. So we're going to do a git add, and I'm just going to put in a period, and that'll just add everything, which in this case is just one file. You can actually put in the name of the file if you just want to add one among many files, one or two or however many you want. And then I'm going to say yarn cm. Actually, first I'm going to do yarn unit u. So I'm going to update our snapshots for our unit tests just to make sure that what we've changed isn't messing anything up. So you can see the index.test.js has been updated because we're using this footer component in index. So if we hadn't have updated it, when we tried to run all of our tests to make sure that our changes didn't break anything, it would have failed the test, right? So that's why we're running that first. Now I'm going to do another git add because our snapshot has been updated. So you can see here our snapshot for index.js has been updated. Now we can do yarn cm, which is basically just like running a git commit with a message, but this is just going to walk us through how to craft a really nice commit message. So we're going to say we're going to add a new feature, right? And I'm going to skip the scope. We're only dealing with one component. It's okay. It'll be obvious what component was changed. And now I'm going to say that we so add buttons and link list to footer. Okay. Just basically describing what we did, right? We're going to do this like present tense, right? So that's what we say, add buttons and link list to footer. Let's hit enter. I'm not going to put a longer description right now because it's not very complicated what we did. If it was more complex, it would be a good idea to put a long description there. We didn't break anything, so we're going to go no with that. And we didn't have any issues, as far as I remember, that dealt with this footer. So I'm going to say no to that as well. If we did have an issue, we would just reference that issue number, and then it would automatically put a little note in that issue with a reference to this commit. Or if we had said fix and then put the issue number, it would have automatically closed that issue for us, which is pretty awesome. So you can see that we passed all our unit tests. We also pass our end-to-end tests, and now we can just do a git push, and that's going to push all our changes up to our GitHub repository. So now you all can check out that repo, and everything that we've done today will be there. Obviously need to perfect that a bit, need to finish out adding in some data, but the basic layout, right, the markup is going to remain the same. Okay, so now I'm going to take the rest of the stream to answer questions, and let me just show you, I'm going to show you briefly, I haven't showed it for a long time, what I'm doing here. So I'm going to add content to footer. I estimated that this will take me 2 Pomodoro sessions, and we just spent 2 Pomodoro sessions on that. So I'm going to say it took 2 out of 2. This is in my Trello board, right? And now, actually, to be honest, I'm going to leave this in progress since I still have a bit of content to put in there. Probably if I didn't do it live, I could have got it all in, but as I'm explaining things, it does take a bit longer. So this is going to be in my column of in progress, right? Once we're done with it, we can move it to completed. If it needs testing, I'll move it to testing first. Okay, but this is my Trello board, and it has all the stuff that needs to be done assigned to the people that need to do it. My to-do list, my ready for dev stuff. This is all stuff that I really want to get done this week. Okay, and then here's my completed list. And each one of these that I'm working on has estimates for how long it will take. And then once I actually do it, I say, here's how long it actually did take. And these are broken down by Pomodoro sessions. Okay, and then not only that, but then also here, I have my project timesheet, so we can see today's date, August 30th, which is my daughter Gemma's birthday. She just turned 7 today. And then I have my time, which I'm a little bit behind on how much time I've been spending, but let's just say we took about 50 minutes, right, 2 Pomodoro sessions for this, and let's see, add content to footer. Add content to footer. So I'm keeping track of every day how much time I spend. Now this doesn't take into account things like meetings, which do take up a lot of time, or any correspondence for the site. And so I'm not perfect with this. So usually this estimate is less time than it really takes. But so far on this project, it's over 250 hours of work. Like I said, minus meetings, and usually like some research time and stuff like that. So that's how I keep track of things for my projects. I do this for all of my projects. And all right, so let's go back to the live chat. I'm going to scroll back up to where I left off. So if you have any other questions right now, feel free to put them in the live chat now, and I'll try to get to everything. Let's see. Mustafa says, hi from India. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Let's see. Philip says, I know some Vue. How different between Vue and React? I haven't used Vue before, so I don't really know how different Vue and React are. So sorry. Has anybody used Vue and React and can give us a comparison of, you know, how similar or different they are? Marcio, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but says, I was just checking how to contribute on open source, but I couldn't find any videos for beginners. Do you have any recommendations? Thanks. You know what, off the top of my head, I can't think of any videos. I'm pretty sure I have seen some out there, though, on how to contribute. Yeah, there's got to be some. I'm surprised there's not one on the freeCodeCamp YouTube channel, to be honest with you. So if you haven't searched through freeCodeCamp, try that. Conrad asks if I've tried styled components. Yes, I have used styled components on a React Native project that I was working on a few months ago. I kind of like styled components. It's a little bit different, so I'm not great with styled components yet, but it's something I would like to work more with. Fazian says, thanks for your helpful tips. You're welcome. Thanks for saying that. Thanks for watching. Ultravid says, I'm totally new to coding, but I want to learn more. I know a little HTML. All right, cool. Well, that's a good place to start. I definitely recommend going to freeCodeCamp.org and checking out the lessons. And it'll start you out with HTML, move into CSS, and then into JavaScript and beyond. So if you want to learn more, definitely check that out. Robert says, would you make a video about Redux in the future? Maybe if we use Redux. I do have a video on my YouTube channel. So I believe there's a link to my YouTube channel in the description. If you search Jesse Weigel on YouTube, you'll probably find it. But I have a video, and I think it's React Native Live Coding is the title of the video. Is that what it is? No, you know what? That's not it. Well, that is a video on my channel, but the one where I use Redux is on the freeCodeCamp channel. If you search React Native and Redux, you should see one of my videos where we work with React Native and Redux. So check that out. I may do more in the future, but for now you can check that out. And I think it was maybe Project 3. I think that's what it was. Let's see. So Sofiane says, thank you, has JSX style advantages on CSS? There are some advantages. So if what you're creating with the styles is just a JavaScript object, like I'll show it again here on the screen, then you can do JavaScript, right? So any calculations you could normally do with JavaScript, functions, whatever, you could do inside here, and so you could do more than you could normally with CSS, more like dynamic things, right? Vishal says, please upload a video about how to build programming logic. I don't have a video about that. The other thing is too, I'm one of many contributors to freeCodeCamp, so a lot of this stuff, like there may be videos about this already on freeCodeCamp that I don't even know about because we have so much content here on the YouTube channel.
Thank you. I'll take your soon. Okay, bye.
Kalyug says, please tell me which website is best for learning HTML and CSS. I'm new to coding, and which language I first have to learn. Check out freeCodeCamp.org and go through their HTML and CSS lessons and see what you think. Robert also mentions Code Academy. Yeah, that's also a good place to go. I've done their lessons as well. The latest music also recommends W3 schools. I did use those back in the day. I prefer freeCodeCamp and Code Academy over W3 schools, to be honest with you. The only advantage I saw with W3 schools is their lessons seem to have a lot more reading. At least they used to. A lot more reading and less hands-on stuff. So if you only have time to read and not to actually type or anything, then there are things you could read there. I find that Mozilla Developer Network has more detailed information, which sometimes it's overwhelming if you're starting out though, but if you wanted more details, check them out instead of W3 schools. So according to you, which programming language should I go with first? For sure, if you want to do anything with front-end web development, go with JavaScript. If you're not sure what you want to do, go with JavaScript because it's so versatile and can be used really for nearly anything that you would want to use a programming language for. If you know specifically what you want to do, then there may be another programming language that is better suited to that thing. So, for instance, data science seems to rely more on R, Python, same like machine learning relies a lot on Python. If you want to work with like .NET framework stuff, maybe you want to try C#. If you're into WordPress or Drupal, you want to go with PHP, right? So it depends on what you want to do, but just in general, JavaScript is a good thing to go with because if you're doing anything on the web, you're probably going to need to know JavaScript at some point. Okay, Robert also reiterated that MDN is a better resource than W3 schools. Let's see. Kalyug says, one more thing, which programming language is good for app development? It depends on what you want to do. If you want to use React Native to develop apps, then JavaScript is great. If you want to develop just iOS apps, then maybe you want to learn Swift. If you want to develop Android apps, then you could learn Java or Kotlin, right? So there are a lot of options, right? I like using JavaScript with React Native for mobile apps because you just learn JavaScript and you can make apps for Android or iOS. And that's especially good if you don't really know what you want to specialize in, one or the other, right? Basically you get to do more with learning only one language, right? Vipov says, how do you start learning programming? I don't know if you're asking in general, like how would you start learning programming, or you want to know like my personal story. So I'm gonna say, like, in general, check out freeCodeCamp.org. I know I keep saying that, but it's a great resource, and that'll get you a nice intro to programming. If you want to you could do Udacity for their courses. You could do Codecademy for their stuff too. FreeCodeCamp's not the only resource out there, but it is free, and I think it's quite good. Let's see. Let's see. Emery says you can also use Solo Learn. Okay, so I haven't used Solo Learn, but there's another recommended resource there from Emery. Emery also is asking what the name of the software is, and then later on says Visual Studio Code. It is Visual Studio Code. Yeah. Calyug says HTML and CSS are both interlinked, right? Yeah. So HTML is like your markup for the page, right? So if you're building a house, HTML is like your frame, the wood that you would use, right? The bricks for the house. CSS would be like the paint, right? The decorations in your house, right? So CSS makes HTML look nicer when it's rendered in the browser to the user, right? JavaScript would be like all the moving parts and things, like the electricity in the house, the thing that opens your garage door, the lights, the switches, right? That's what makes things move. It makes things happen. Mishra says, thank you for being live and teaching us about React. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for watching. Calyug says, some websites only teach HTML while others only CSS. Where to get both at the same time? Yeah, FreeCodeCamp, for sure. You can get both at the same time. It's going to start with HTML and then very quickly go into CSS as well, which is the right way to go. I mean, you definitely want to learn HTML first. Otherwise, CSS doesn't really make much sense, because CSS is going to do things. It's going to build on your HTML, right? CSS targets HTML elements. If you don't know what an HTML element is, it's going to be difficult to understand what CSS is doing. David asks, what's the framework you're using for adding the git commit details like that? It's called Commitizen. So I'll show you my package JSON. There we go. Commitizen. I'll paste that in the live chat too. Let's see. Raul says, what programming language is this? It's JavaScript. In particular, it's a JavaScript library called React, and the syntax is JSX. Let's see. Donanje says, "Hey Jesse, how are you?" Not bad. Pretty busy lately, but not too bad. So here's like a few minutes about me, since Donanje asked how I'm doing, and I haven't talked with y'all for a while. So me personally, been pretty busy. My prolonged trip to Utah and then to New York City threw me completely off my schedule. So I'm finally getting back on my schedule of getting good sleep, and I'm back on my diet, and I need to get back on my workout routine. Not quite back there yet. My wrist is still healing from the surgery. It still hurts, so I won't really be able to work out like 100%. And then I'm going to try to get this website launched as fast as I can, I guess, assuming that nothing else happens, like in terms of like changes or anything that get requested, which keeps happening. Yeah, but that's what's going on with me. Thanks for asking. How are you doing, Denanje? Let's see. Brandon says, "What is your setup hardware-wise? I'm looking into purchasing a new MacBook Air, but I'm not sure if it will be powerful enough for web development and running Windows 10 in Parallels." The MacBook Air can definitely do web development, but I have no idea about running Windows 10 as well. I don't really know about this. My setup in my office at work is an iMac with 32 gigs of RAM. And it can handle 2 external monitors, plus the iMac one and streaming, and it's fine. I have a MacBook Pro that is also fine with 2 external monitors for web development, but when I try to live stream as well, it gets a little sluggish. So, but I've never tried to also run Windows 10 on either of these machines. Mammy says, "I've learned so much just watching than I could do. I really appreciate your help so much. So thank you." Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for saying that. Ilya says, "Where do you live?" I live in the United States, in Ohio. So I live in a small city called Steubenville, Ohio. It's right on the eastern border of Ohio. And if you're familiar with Pittsburgh, which is a much bigger city, that's like the closest big city to me. I'm actually pretty close to Pittsburgh. So if I drive maybe about a half-hour drive, I'm in Pittsburgh. So not sure if that helps you figure out where I'm at, but that's where I am. Rohit says, "Can we use Python for Android application development?" I've never heard of anybody using Python for that, but maybe it's possible. I've never really thought of it though. Usually for Android, if you're going to do it like completely native, then you are going to use Java or Kotlin. If you want to use JavaScript, you could use something like Ionic or React Native. Dead Zombie recommends checking out the Net Ninja on YouTube for beginners stuff. So I'm assuming like HTML, JavaScript, CSS. Okay, Danko says it is possible to use Python for Android application development, but it's not great. Not exactly what he said, but or what he or she said. I'm not sure. Let's see. Joseph says hello. Hey Joseph, how's it going? Joseph asks, "Is that styled components or emotion?" Neither. I'm not using either one of those right now. At least not on this project. Kalyug says, "You have cleared 99% of my doubts. Thanks, brother. God bless. Love from India." Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad I could help. World says, "How do you avoid getting bored of coding?" I don't know. I mean, I like working on new things. I like coding. Other things too, like there are some specific tasks that are really boring, but coding in general I'm always excited about because I can always do like new things. I always try to use some new technique or new technology in every time I do a new project. Also, like for boredom, listening to good Spotify playlists while I'm trying to do the really boring stuff helps. Caffeine helps. Stuff like that. So, and I generally I like coding. If somebody really didn't like it, I could definitely see boredom being like a bigger issue. Rohit says, "Tell me about Python." I don't know that much about Python. I've only done limited stuff with it. The thing about Python that I remember most is that there's not a lot of special characters for the syntax. Like, for instance, with JavaScript, you're using a lot of different brackets, curly brackets, regular brackets, parentheses, and things like that. With Python, a lot of your syntax is determined by your indentation. So you're not going to have a bunch of semicolons everywhere in Python. So it's kind of interesting. I liked Python when I did use it, but I just don't have any need for it in most of the work that I get paid for. Vishal says, "Can you teach some advanced C and C++ concepts?" I'm not really qualified to teach C and C++. It's been so long since I've used either one of those languages, and even when I did use them, it was just very basic. So, maybe somebody else on the freeCodeCamp channel has already done something about that or will do something, but I'm afraid that I wouldn't be such a great teacher on those things. Gabriel says, "Have you ever implemented authentication and authorization with GraphQL as you did?" I guess not really. Normally on projects where we've had stuff like that with GraphQL, Harshit, who watches the stream and contributes frequently, Harshit has handled that. So I can't really help with that. I wish I could. World says, "Why did you go to Utah? Seems kind of random." Oh, okay, so React Rally is held in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I was at the React Rally conference in Salt Lake City, and then went right after that, I went to New York City for a freeCodeCamp top contributor meetup that was held in Brooklyn, in New York City. So that's why I was gone. It was the longest I'd ever been away from my family on my own, and so that was a little bit weird. It was a bit lonely, but it was awesome to meet a lot of other developers and freeCodeCamp contributors. It was cool to see. Like, I'd never been to Utah, let alone Salt Lake City. So it was cool to see that area of the country, much different. Even like the climate's different. Just the landscape, the plants, like everything's so different in Utah from where I live. And I haven't been to New York City in 13 years, so going back to New York City was fun. I'd actually never been to Brooklyn. I'd only been to Manhattan before, so that was cool. It was really cool. I just spent a lot of time walking around. I walked around a little bit in Salt Lake City, but I just spent like a whole day and night just walking around New York, just checking everything out. It was cool. Let's see. Meekex says, "If you use the CDN for React and only one JS file for all the code, how do you link all the navigation links to the different parts of that page?" I don't know. I mean, I guess if within your one file you broke things out into different components, right? But it was within one file, like you defined multiple components in the one file, your navigation could probably call those different components, right? I'm not 100% sure, but that's how I would go about it, I suppose. Nikhil says, "Hi. Hey, how's it going?" Solrav says, best books to learn coding. If you're trying to learn JavaScript, I would check out the You Don't Know JS series, which is available for free online. Or you could get the book, and the Eloquent JavaScript book, which is also available for free online, or you can pay for the print copy. Those two books, You Don't Know JS is really a series of books, but those two resources I've been impressed with, and I've read through those. I like them. I don't know if I finished Eloquent JavaScript, though, to be honest with you. So, or You Don't Know JS. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if I finished either one of those books, those series of books. But I really liked what I did read of them. Let's see. And Nicko also said best book for React. I've never read any books about React, so I really don't know. If anybody else has any recommendations, please put them in the chat now or in the comments to the video if you're watching this later on. Mammy says, if you are bored, you do not like it. I do not get bored and can't do it. It makes you think and ponder. Yeah, that's true, right? If you really like something, you're not going to get bored with it. I mean, there are some parts about coding that are kind of boring. But usually those are things that you could probably just write a function to do for you, right? So depending on how you approach it, it may or may not be that boring, right? Robert says, I think boredom comes from too much studying. When people apply the knowledge they've obtained and try to troubleshoot, that's when you won't be bored anymore. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, actually building something is usually like never boring. Like trying to just read through material and learn, that can be boring. So I do recommend learning programming mostly by actually building things, and then only reading about something when you need to use it. That seems to be the way you'll learn a lot more quickly that way, and you'll build cool stuff while you're doing it. Nikhil asks, what's Python used for? Robert says, Python used for basically everything. Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of different stuff with Python. In particular, Python does seem to be used for machine learning quite a bit. But it's also, I mean, you could build anything with Python, really, like any backend stuff. Rohit says, what IDE do you use for coding? This is Visual Studio Code. Nikhil says, but why you said not for Android? Well, Android, so like certain platforms you use a certain language. So like Android uses Java or Kotlin. iOS uses Swift. If you want to do a WordPress website, it's built with PHP. So like certain platforms have already been built around a certain programming language, right? If you wanted to build an entirely new mobile operating system, you could certainly build it in Python, right? But since the Android operating system is already built in a certain way, then it only runs certain code, right? So there's probably some way to build an app for Android in Python and then have it converted to stuff that the Android operating system can handle, probably Java, right? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, and that's it. That's the, actually, Vishal says, what is the Spring framework? I don't really know. I've heard of it, but I have no idea what it is. I can't even remember where I've heard it now. Amine, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, says, thank you for everything, Jesse, from Morocco. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for watching. Morocco is one of the places that I really would like to visit. I've seen a lot of cool TV shows about like people taking trips to Morocco, and it seems like a really, really cool place. Cool like culture and food and everything. So anyway, maybe one day I'll get a chance to go to Morocco. I've actually never been outside of my home country, so we'll see if I ever make it out. Rohit says, how did you learn all this stuff? Online courses, books, any suggestions? Yeah, mostly online courses, really. And a lot of what I've learned has just been like I'll get a job or a client and I need to do a thing, and so I look up how to do it, and I just any resources I can find, I learn from those. whatever I can do to make it work. Okaba says, thanks so much, Jesse. Just making up my mind to learn React. Mac Okaba from Nigeria. Oh, thank you for saying that. I'm glad maybe I had a little impact on helping you decide if you want to learn React. So, good luck. Nicko says, thanks for reply. You're welcome. All right. Okay, I'm gonna. Is it Jorge from Panama? Let me know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But hey, how's it going? All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go now. I'm starting to get really hungry, and it's definitely been time for me to leave the office. So I want to get home and celebrate my daughter Gemma's birthday. I'm pretty sure she just turned 7 today. So yeah, I want to get home and hang out with her. And anyway, I really liked hanging out with you all and doing some coding. And I know it's been a while. I'm going to try to be better about streaming more often. This week's just been crazy with all the meetings and stuff. So anyway, hopefully this will probably be my last stream of this week. Hopefully next week I'll stream more. I'm going to be off on Monday. It's a national holiday here, so I won't be in the office working, but I'm trying to think. I don't know. It might be another week before I stream now that I think about it because of the holiday. Yeah, but I'll see you at some point next week. And, I'm always on all the different social media networks and stuff, so you could reach out to me there, or, maybe you'll see some of my posts and stuff. So I'm definitely active on Twitter and on Instagram the most. I'm on all the, a lot of the other, Snapchat, Facebook, all that other stuff. I don't really post that much, though, but LinkedIn. So if you want to chat, just find me somewhere, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. All right, cool. All right, yeah, so I'll see y'all next week sometime. Until then, have a great rest of the week and weekend, and thanks again for watching.